We've talked a lot about who could the Patriots add. Who are they going to keep, though? I do think we should mention the pending free agents, and we should talk about this. Then we'll get back to your calls, 617-779-0985. So the Patriots have 9 pending free agents. It's not a lot because they re-signed all those guys last year. Jacoby Brissett, JaMychal Hasty, Austin Hooper, Daniel Ekuale, Dietrich Wise, O'Shane Ximines, Jonathan Jones, Jalen Hawkins, and Joey Sly. Those are their pending free agents. Do any of those guys stand out to you as players you're, pounding the table for the Patriots to bring back, Cerrone?
Not really pounding the table, but I mentioned last week Austin Hooper. I think there was some chemistry there with him and Drake May. And I think May has I would say this is probably his best options last year, but he had some kind of chemistry with the tight ends. I think he liked to work that part of the field, and I want to see what that looks like with McDaniels, running the show now. So I would keep him around. Tight end depth as well. This might sound weird as much as I've kind of been on the guy, but I think if you're going to make the trade and make a deal for Milton to send somewhere else, you got to have a backup quarterback in there, and I think Brissett playing his normal role as an NFL backup quarterback would be needed. I think he's a veteran guy, and he seems like a great teammate. I don't know for sure. I've never been in the locker room with him. I don't know how that works out, but from everything I've seen, he's a good teammate and a good guy to have. And this is a guy Josh McDaniels is familiar with, so I would keep a guy like him around as a backup quarterback. If you're going to get rid of Milton, I would say Brissett. So Brissett, Austin Hooper, and like I mentioned earlier with the caller about the cornerbacks, I think you got to keep Jonathan Jones around. You need depth in the secondary because you're going to be dealing with Jackson Dart for the next 10 years playing for the Jets. So you're going to have guys back there, to deal with the Josh Allens and the Tuas and all these other guys to spread the ball around. I think you got to have cornerback depth no matter what you do in the draft. So I got Jonathan Jones, Jacoby Brissett, and Austin Hooper, the 3 guys that I want to keep around. And I thought about Sly. I'm like, man, this dude doesn't have a leg, but he missed a lot of kicks last year that kind of cost his team. So I don't know where they stand with the kicking situation. Something else I think we got to kind of keep an eye on. Those top 3 guys.
It sounded like from Mike Reese this morning, they might just move forward with Parker, Romo, and then add like a rookie. So Joey Sly may be on the way out. Yeah. I only have a couple. Hooper's the big one. The Patriots had we didn't notice this because of everything else that was going on, and some of this may just have been due to the lack of talent at receiver. They had the 6th most productive tight end room in the NFL last year in terms of both catches and yards. Only 5 teams were more productive at tight end collectively than the Patriots. Drake May clearly likes throwing to tight ends. If you think there's a chance you're going to draft a guy like Tyler Warren at 4, maybe you don't sign Hooper, but you'd have to make a lot of other signings to make that happen.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see Hooper back. I'd like to see Daniel Ekuale back. I know they're changing up the defense, and it's a new sort of philosophy. Ekuale actually fits as a more aggressive, penetrating defensive tackle, and he was one of the guys last year I thought in the locker room that kept his head on straight throughout the season.
Yeah.
So Daniel Ekuale I'd like to see back. You should be able to get O'Shane Ximines back on minimum money coming off a torn ACL, but he'll give you some pass rush depth. He can play on special teams. And then Jonathan Jones is the other one. If they don't bring Jonathan Jones back, and I do wonder if Jones is going to come back, because if I'm a contending team, that's a guy that I'm looking to bring in as like a veteran leader in the secondary.
Yeah.
Although, as we heard earlier, corners aren't important. But if they lose Jonathan Jones, slot corner sort of becomes a major need. We don't know if Marcus Jones is a fit in this defense. Even if he is, you need a backup. He gets hurt a lot. And I also think Jonathan Jones can play some safety for you. So Jonathan Jones would be like sneaky, really solid return. And I know that they're not bringing back a lot of guys, and I get that, and they want to turn it over. Jonathan Jones and Austin Hooper, to me, are the 2 obvious ones. Those are the 2 guys that I'd put at the top of my list. I don't even say tier 1 because I don't think you need any of these guys back, but would be really good to have Hooper and Jonathan Jones back. And then Ekuale and Ximines, you can get players that do what they do, but these guys are already in the building. They'll probably be a little more affordable just because they're coming back. Those are 2 guys I look at. Dietrich Wise, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Has been a good player here for a long time, but I don't think he's a fit in the system anymore. I think he's probably moving on. Sly, it seems like they're ready to move on. Ben Sauls, the kicker from Pittsburgh. JaMychal Hasty, they can get another third running back. To your point on Brissett, I think Brissett's going to want to go somewhere where he has a chance to start. And maybe it's what it was last year. Does he go to Tennessee
or Cleveland?
Right, or maybe goes to the Jets in case Jackson Dart's not ready, right? I think he will have, not to be a definitive starter, but I think he will have a chance somewhere to compete for a starting job. That obviously is not going to be the case here, nor should it be. So I good player, and to your point, being down there last year, I think he was great in the locker room. I think the guys really gravitated towards him. I think he was an important piece of keeping things together as much as they did stay together. But it doesn't make sense for him. I would say more so. If he could come back as the backup, I think that'd be great for the Patriots.
Yeah,
I don't really know what the incentive is for the Patriots, right? Or for him, unless they're going to give him a ton of money. But I'm not going to overpay the backup quarterback.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You have Joe Milton, you're in good shape there now. If you trade Joe Milton, maybe that becomes more of a conversation. But I think that's it. The other free agents I should mention: Christian Ellis is an RFA. He's been tendered, so a right of first refusal tender. So they can still negotiate a longer-term deal with him, or he'll be back at like $2 million. If another team offers him a contract, the Patriots will have a right to match it. They wouldn't get any return if they lost him. And then Lester Cotton was an RFA. They did not tender him, so he's a restricted free agent. He's a depth interior offensive lineman, not a guy that you necessarily need to bring back if you are the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking, I had mentioned Austin Hooper as well. And you brought him up. And you see some little things here or there about Kyle Pitts being available. Would you swing a deal for Kyle Pitts and just let Austin Hooper just move on, if you could?
I don't know that the two are mutually exclusive. I think Kyle Pitts is a flyer at this point. He's a good flyer, and I take him. He's a heck of a flyer, but he's a flyer. You're probably giving up a 5th or 6th round pick, or it's something conditional. And you're hoping that a change of scenery shakes things up for him. I think you'd still want Austin Hooper, because if it doesn't click, now
you still got that guy.
Right, you're down a second tight end. And even if it does, Pitts, in theory, does some things that Hooper and Henry don't do. He's going to be able to line up out wide a little bit more. He's a little bit more of a red zone threat, traditional red zone threat than those guys. You're going to have different ways you can use him. It'd be a pretty tight end heavy offense. Yeah, but we know Josh McDaniels is okay with that. Like, he's done that. So I would take a flyer on Kyle Pitts. I'm not giving up anything more than like a 5th round pick for him. But if he's and honestly, this is probably something that would happen training camp, maybe spring practices. Like, I don't think this is something that's going to happen later in the next week or two. All the more reason why I'd still bring Hooper back. But I the only way I wouldn't bring Hooper back is if they know going into this right now, we love Tyler Warren. We love Tyler Warren. He's going to be our pick at 4. We know we'll be able to get him, right? It's going to be a quarterback, Hunter, Carter, top 3. We're going to take Tyler Warren, and he's going to play next to Henry and develop as the future at that position. If that's your plan, because Austin Hooper's going to cost you a little bit. Yeah. Mike Gesicki got 8.5 AAV yesterday from the Bengals. That was a little over $1 million over the cap projection, which is usually relatively in tune. And they have Hooper valued at 6.5. So you're probably going to be paying Hooper, I'd say 5 to 7 AAV. Which isn't nothing. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing. And you don't want that guy just sitting there. So if they know they're going to draft Tyler Warren, I wouldn't re-sign Hooper. Short of that, it's a weak tight end market. I'm not overpaying for Juwan Johnson to be the second tight end. Yeah. If you dip into the draft day 2, day 3, I still want a veteran next to Henry if they're going to be 2 tight end heavy. So I think it makes more sense to bring Hooper back than not. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I think he was a good player, and I think it was a good chemistry there. And I think, look, imagine what his numbers or the tight ends numbers would have looked like early on if May have played the whole season. They kind of exploded after he came on. But we talked about games early in the year where balls were just missing those tight ends in key situations. And I think you probably talking about a top 3 tight end room if Drake May was there from the beginning of the season. So I think Austin Hooper would be a big, I would say, addition, but you got to keep him
to try and keep him here and hope he doesn't leave to seek the Super Bowl contender or ready-made team. It's like, I'll go be a third tight end somewhere just as long as I get a chance at the ring. So I think that's the only thing they're competing with right now. But, yeah, I would love to keep him around.
617-779-0985. We have open phone lines if you want to weigh in on Patriots free agency. We will go to your calls next here on the Sports Hub Sunday Kickoff.